Tropical storm Philippe has made landfall on the island of Barbuda. Good evening, Mike Naso here with this 11 p.m. midnight Monday night update on the tropics. We continue to watch Philippe here as the moisture moves into areas of the Leeward Islands and the U.S. Virgin Islands. It has crossed one of the islands and made an official landfall, and we are keeping a close eye on it. Here is the latest as of 11 p.m. from the National Hurricane Center. Philippe was at 17.8 north, 62.1 west. Winds are 50 miles per hour, but that's mostly to the south and east of the center, and it is moving west-northwest slowly at 7, and that causes us to have a threat there of heavy rainfall, causing dangerous flash flooding. The forecast has Philippe eventually moving here faster to the northwest, then north, and then eventually the northeast. However, towards Friday, we could see it get close to Bermuda. So if you are in the island of Bermuda, as always, keep a very close eye on this system. Here's the track through time, and we had it moving west, west-northwest, and then it interacted with Rina, Tropical Storm Rina, and so it kind of did a little Fujiwara effect as it went up and down and sucked Rina into its circulation. So Rina dissipated, and Philippe won out, even though originally at the beginning, it looked possible that the opposite would happen. Philippe is the one that survived, and now the track has taken it far enough west to actually make landfall in Barbuda, made landfall around 6 p.m. Eastern Time Monday night over the island of Barbuda, and we have a tropical storm warning for Barbuda as well as for Antigua, and we could start to see areas there of Guadeloupe get in on some of the warning action there if those winds are indeed over that island. Here's the satellite imagery, and again, when we look at the U.S. Virgin Islands and the Leeward Islands, you have Barbados down here that I just circled. Then you have areas of St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Dominica, Guadeloupe. These areas here are all being impacted by the storms of the tropical storm. The thunderstorms are, again, really displaced. Obviously, the shear is evident on this map as it blows straight into the system that is very unfavorable for development. Thank goodness we don't want a hurricane, but the convection keeps bursting right over the center there, and that's why it's still a tropical storm. Obviously, the center moved right over Barbuda, and that is why we had an official landfall, not quite like what they had 7 years ago when Hurricane Irma crossed Barbuda as a Category 5 hurricane. That was quite the rare event. Nevertheless, Tropical Storm Philippe officially making landfall in the island, so it made it that far west. Over time, that track should pool here to the northeast of Puerto Rico, but if these converging bands here continue to blow up, you could end up getting moisture as well. So again, the U.S. Virgin Islands and the Leeward Islands, Barbados, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, all getting in on moisture from Philippe. Here's that wind shear as I mentioned to you. Again, it's westerly shear straight into the circulation of the system up to 20, 30 knots. That's very unfavorable. So even though the waters are warm still down in the Caribbean, the upper level winds need to be favorable or you can't have a strengthening storm. And looking at this, you can't even tell that the center is where I circled it. So that's even less favorable looking than if it had wind shear and nothing else. Here's the radar out of areas of Barbados, and I showed you this because on the Puerto Rican radar you don't see much because it's really all to the southeast of the center, and obviously they are getting in on some heavy rainfall action. Dominica here, you're really getting in on it. Martinique, you're in some heavy rain. Guadeloupe further north, you're into it as well. So again, these rain bands are going to continue, especially with that slower motion as the system moves to the west-northwest and the northwest. It will continue to bring these rain bands through areas of the islands, and this will all spread into the U.S. Virgin Islands as the night wears on. The forecast models, the European ensembles, take this system right in the direction that the Hurricane Center is saying, although in the long run, Bermuda, you're here, and the Nova Scotia area, again, just like with Lee, you got to watch it very carefully. Here's the GFS. They kind of split into two camps. Some take it into Nova Scotia and the Canadian Maritimes. Others turn it so far right it ends up in the Azores. So they're kind of split there. But the good news is away from areas of the United States, and at least in the case here of the GFS, away from areas of Bermuda. But we'll have to watch that carefully. Here's the key messages on Philippe as of 11 p.m. Atlantic time. Number one, tropical storm conditions are expected across Barbuda and Antigua tonight, while Philippe passes just north of the area. Interests elsewhere in the northern Leeward Islands should continue to monitor the system. And secondly, heavy rainfall from Philippe is expected to produce scattered flash flooding across portions of the Leeward and northern Windward Islands, particularly between Barbuda and Dominica into early Wednesday. And I showed you that on the radar, that this is really the area here where the heaviest rainfall will occur. So again, if you're in that area, easily 4, 6, 8 inches of rain, and that could cause some flash flooding concerns. Beyond Philippe, what do we see? Well, right now, nothing. The long-range GFS model shows maybe we get one more system spinning off Africa. That's possible. And then we'll watch down here in the Caribbean and the Bay of Campeche and the Western Gulf for some low pressures. By the mid part of the month, there is some indication we could get something there, and we do watch that area for development, so we're going to watch it very carefully. That's the latest on Philippe. Philippe, a disorganized tropical storm bringing heavy rains and gusty winds to areas of the Leeward and the U.S. Virgin Islands, making landfall on Barbuda as it continues to move towards the northwest. I'm Mike Naso, and I'll keep you updated on the tropics. I'll talk to you next time.